I had a tape player in my car.
The tape with the long cord that stuck out of it. It was so innovative.
If I wanted to buy a CD today, it would be hard.
Do you remember making your first mixtape? Do you still have your first mixtape?
There's some mixtapes around here. Now, I will say this: I don't have many mixed tapes. I have some mixed CDs.
Do you think that people know what burning a CD means anymore?
I would have to put the tape in and wait for the radio to play the song.
And you still catch the DJ.
You do. That was part of the song.
It dawned on me while we're listening to that. I hit the button and I'm like thinking about how cool it is that we have that and everything. And we're talking music today. If you're just joining the Twisted Eras podcast here with myself, Rob Stott, and good buddy and co-host Doug Marsh, that song produced and performed by the guy sitting on as I look at the screen to my left. I think when we publish it's to the right, but it's a Doug Marsh special right there.
It is. Me and my good buddy Gian did that, and it's every time it's one of those things that you look forward to hearing it again and again and again. And I think it was recorded with this guitar.
Oh, so it's a beautiful guitar.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't want to get in too deep into the weeds, but during COVID, everybody figured out how to record music remotely. And I imagine the pros had been doing it forever, but us the amateurs here, casual fan here, and the technology is incredible. We set a time, you put the clip down
separately, right? Did you guys record those separately?
Not even anywhere near each other. Yeah. So, I send him hey, we're going to do this many bars and it's going to be this long. He does a drum track, sends it back. I then recorded. He did the bass as well. I then record I think there's 4 guitars on there.
Wow.
And then you mix it in the program, a little bit here, a little bit there. And, voila, you got
a song. you got the Twisted Eras intro.
You got the Twisted Era theme song. So
incredible. Well, I love, it sets us up because that just goes to show how deep we could get with music, and we get to do it in a fun fashion this time around. I know we've got just talking about this episode too and planning for it. We've had some side conversations about just the different ways you can go with music, and maybe a preview of a future episode, but a band that's going to come up today. But Green Day, you talk about a band that spans generations and eras, releasing songs in 2024 that are still catchy. I still find myself there on the radio. It's wild to think how that band has evolved over the years and what they mean to different generations. But
yeah, and you talk about you that's a great example, because essentially you go back to their first recording. It sounds like it was recorded by a tape recorder in the middle of the room, and go back and listen to the original stuff. They're still okay songs, but it's like, hey, we're gonna press record, and now, just a regular old, rank and file amateur here can put something that sounds production quality out. It's incredible where we've come in the whole recording process.
So 1994 in music, what a time to be alive. And experience things as we're learning across all different categories of pop culture and everything else of that year.
Yeah.
Lots to dive into. Where do you want to start? This is your, I don't want to call you your baby, because we're both, I'm technically a baby at the time, but 6 years old, right? But
this is, I turned 21 in the summer of 1994, and I think some of the best music ever was being made. But I like how we twist our eras together. We talk about today and in 1994, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't start off with how we get our music today,
different
as opposed to 1994.
Were Fridays, it seems like Fridays now are always like new music drop days, right? So like whether it's obviously on streaming platforms, but I think back to when I was working at a big box retailer
Mhm.
that has a red bullseye. If they want to throw dollars at a sponsorship, I'm happy to
That'd be
accept.
awesome.
But then I'll say their name. But
Yeah.
like the thing I think of is how even when I worked there, I remember I was in the electronics and entertainment department, and it was Friday. This Fridays were new music drop days. You would put out the new albums, you would put out the new CDs at the time, or movies, entertainment, that sort of stuff. Was that
Mhm.
always the case?
Yeah, but it was the best thing was when a big box retailer who didn't know what they were doing would put it out early. So
Yeah.
you would get, the internet was early,
Oh,
but
they
you
were
would go,
always in the back
yeah,
stock
you would have
room,
the chat
at
rooms
least a
just
week
like,
early.
hey, so and so has got the new album. They've already put it out, and everybody would go down and get it. But
Run.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And I uh can say I have waited in line at midnight
That was going to be my next question. Have you ever
for
lined up for something? Yeah.
absolutely. I absolutely. They would put it out. The bigger albums would come out at midnight,
Yep.
and the record stores. I don't think you would typically see it at your big box, but the
Yeah.
local
Local
record
record store.
store would, get involved, and the radio would be out there, and you would stand in line, and it was typically the first time you would hear it because there'd be a single on the
Mhm.
radio, but while you're waiting in line, they would be playing the disc,
Oh,
and you would, I can remember plain as day, uh, the, this is a couple years before, but Guns N' Roses had put out Use Your Illusion, comes out in 91. We all, we went to School Kids Records. I don't, in
wow.
Wilmington, North Carolina, and stood in line and bought that one. But during this time, there was a Metallica box set that came out that was live. It had live shows. It had CDs. It had VHSs. We waited in line for that one as well. Um, so it was a different time to now having essentially every piece of recorded music at your fingertips. It's
Yeah. Right.
unreal.
Right on this little thing. It's just,
It's unreal.
yeah. The phone
And
for those of you listening.
Rob's
Right. How
holding
you're
up his
listening
phone.
to
That's right.
right.
How you're
How
listening to this as well while you're
you're right. You
mowing the
gotta
grass or
whatever
at
you're doing
the
on the
gym.
toilet,
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
throne, right?
yeah, yeah,
Whatever you might be
yeah,
doing. That's
yeah.
how
Just
you're
don't
listening
switch
to
over right now until you're done with us.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, it's so crazy to think. I had a I had a tape player in my car,
mhm.
and so you had to get the Sony Discman
Yeah.
with the tape adapter, and you would
Yep.
put the tape in there to be able to play your CDs.
I had one. My first car had one of those. It's
Yeah,
incredible, right? Like it
yeah.
was. I had a little Hyundai Elantra was my first car, and it was
Nice.
the tape with the long cord that stuck out of it.
Long
Right,
cord,
you plug that
yes.
into your CD player, and go right along listening to
And we
whatever it
thought
was.
we were amazing. And
Yeah, it was so
now, through the
innovative.
magic of Bluetooth, I get in my car and it automatically starts playing whatever I want,
Yeah,
whatever I'm in the mood for, whatever I want to listen to. It's incredible. And that, if you would have told 21-year-old Doug that he wouldn't have to wait in line at midnight, I think he would have been happy. But I will say there was something cool about that.
right. It's community.
It definitely was more special. It's
Yeah,
like, if you did it at, movies were the same way. They would come out at midnight, and you'd have usually the hardcore fans. There's
yeah.
nothing like going to a Star Wars movie at midnight on opening day and having everybody,
Well, I
into
think
it. So
I think that aspect of it is why you still see a record store day today,
true.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's still a thing. For all the independent record stores out there that still exist and are thriving, right? In today's terms, I'd call it thriving. And the fact that even just a couple years, I think it was the end of 22, where vinyl for the first time since like the mid 80s started outselling CDs again.
It did.
And they
It did.
and listen, it's not like the heyday where it was like tens of millions of sales, but
No.
like it's still in the millions. But that to watch the resurgence of that category kind of shows the nostalgic factor of that medium, right?
Absolutely.
Of vinyl, of physical media, physical music, and the staying power of it.
It's amazing that was shocking, because if at this time, let's say in 1994, they had completely stopped making vinyl. It was not even an option. You could not even get it. And slowly but surely through the 2000s, it started coming back. But to think in 94, there's some gazillion million, albums sold, and it's all CDs and tapes. And I always
conversions happen fast, didn't it? I feel like tapes didn't have that long of a lifespan, but even they're starting to come back. But like back in that day,
there is something recently you could buy on tape, and it was like, who has a tape player?
Well, there's a whole funny, not to bring professional life into this. We had Victrola is a partner that we work with, and had a conversation with their product guy about it. It's really the Taylor Swift factor. Right?
Okay.
She's the one driving. Like, if you look at vinyl sales, I think like almost half of vinyl sales are Taylor Swift. It's like some wild number that you wouldn't expect for one person, but it's important that it's happening because it's introducing a whole new generation to it.
Sure.
But it's her too with the tapes. It's like she's putting her music, her albums, and whatever her collections out on all of these different mediums, and it's driving sales.
Wow.
Yeah.
I heard somebody say one time, and the Black Album came out in 91, but it was still selling in 94, and they sold, I don't know, it's 20 million something. And I think I heard Lars say one time it was 8 of them were cassette tapes, and he jokingly said, where are these 8 million cassette tapes today? What landfill are, where are these tapes that everybody had, but it's cool, like Resurgence, I guess. You think about clothes have the 30 year cycle, right? I guess the
music is experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, but that's the biggest difference of just how you get your music
really
and
like the LPs and vinyl were gone by the early 90s. 91 might have been like their last.
Did not even come out on vinyl. Most of these 94 albums, we're going to have some big albums. You got several huge debuts that year. None of them came out on vinyl. You can get them on vinyl now, but you couldn't back then.
Found an awesome chart. We'll have to include it. I'll drop it right over as I'm talking about this. The Recording Industry Association, RIAA, has an awesome chart that spans from like 1970-ish, maybe 81, 82, up through like 2015 of by platform, the revenues and where it looks. And I mean, you could just see like just the explosion of CDs and CD singles and what that did. Even DVD audio is in there for a little bit. But then, how things kind of, it's waves, but the cassette wave is so small compared to vinyl and CD. It's wild, but we'll throw that over top.
That's awesome. DVD audio. That's I
had at least I don't know if they're counting. I'd have to dig into it, right? But like if they're counting, the DVD performances of like recorded concerts and things like that, I certainly owned a few.
Absolutely.
I could think of Linkin Park live in Texas, I think was one of them.
Looking at like how we get our music, we do it via Spotify, Apple Music, whoever, but also think about going to shows. In 94, I went to a bunch of concerts. You went, it was $20 and you came home with a shirt and memories. In 2024, you're going sometimes to see the exact same band play the exact same set because they're playing the hits from 1994. It's now $200.
Yeah.
And you get home and you upload to YouTube all your cool videos that you took. And now, voila, we can watch these shows on YouTube. This was not a thing. We could have never dreamed of this in 1994. When you got a snippet of a concert on MTV or something, it was the coolest thing ever. Now, you can live stream shows. It's
right to social media and
right to social, right wherever, and to think like I saw this, so truly how different we are. In 1994, let me get this right, or wrote this one down so wouldn't mess it up. But um, if we think about how we get our music, Spotify, all that stuff right there. Well, in 1994, Aerosmith released the first ever track that could be downloaded from the internet.
Wow.
And I think it was specifically for CompuServe, which
Oh
was
my
a
goodness.
competitor of AOL.
So,
Not a
hold
very
on a
good.
second. So you're saying they did something that YouTube would do years later for them?
Yes.
So like YouTube was just following a path.
They were just
It's
exactly.
not this wasn't Apple's fault that we all owned a YouTube album that we didn't
No.
want.
But let's check this out. Say so they're the first major band. So first signed band. There may have been some others that were putting stuff out, but Aerosmith becomes the first major band to premiere a new song on the internet. And it said in the first 8 days, 10,000 CompuServe subscribers had downloaded it.
Wow.
So it, but
I guess they were given the choice to download it.
That's true. Not the same thing. It wasn't automatically on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like today, where in 2 seconds we can be listening to whatever. 94 was the first time a band had put a song out to be downloaded. And can you imagine how long that would have taken?
Right. Today it's like instant stream. Back then it would have been what
stream.
How you probably
There's
download at least absolutely longer than the length of the song to download it and then listen to it, right? A couple minutes is like what? You probably had to start it overnight and then wake up and then be able to listen to it.
Yes. But think about how far we've come. That's 30 years. That's 30 years. The first song available to be downloaded to now where it's hard to, if I wanted to buy a CD today, it would be hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
it's
Best Buy doesn't I threw out the name, right? But like they got rid, it was a big deal a couple years ago when they got rid of their physical media department. Right?
Somebody else announced, another big box announced this week they were getting rid of their physical media department as well. And you're like,
what?
Man. And we hear a lot of complaints about $200 tickets to go see a concert, and that's why, because
royalties from streaming are just like pennies on the dollar. It's
nothing.
It does not equate to buying that album or
it is
whatever it is.
I hate to use the word ruined because it's great for the consumer, but for the artist, brutal. It is brutal, and that's why you would have never seen artists. I won't say never. You didn't see a lot of artists licensing their music to commercials back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's a huge revenue stream for them. So you're like, hey, can we get this? Absolutely. You can have this song for the movie. You can have the song for the TV show. You can have the song to sell whatever soft drink you want, because they're just not making it. So
that's not like, to be fair, not to say that they aren't still making the dollars, but
they're not doing well, making
but not at the same, at the same clip, or they're having to find alternative revenue streams, if you will.
Much different. Yes. So like the 94 guys were rolling in money. Now they're not starving.
Right.
But it's they're not out there buying, jumbo jets either, like those guys would have been in the back in the day.
Yeah. I wonder too, like I know it's different, right? You can't compare anyone to Taylor Swift, but like you see what she does today with having, she basically runs her own brand. She's not going through record labels and things like that. I wonder if you start to see, a lot more independent kind of activity in the music scene because of that. Because I'm sure, that happens too, right? Now a studio helps you, launch an album. They're getting cuts of revenue. So like a lot of the money there. And not to say, I guess never say never, but like death of the recording industry in that sense.
Big time. Absolutely. That's definitely a thing, what we did with the theme song, anybody can now do.
Right.
You used to be
like TikTok stars and Instagram, stars do you see that are just, they're singing their own a cappella covers of songs and get big and then end up, someone sign, I guess that's where, someone will sign them, help them promote themselves. But so it's more of like a promotional agency as opposed to like, let me give you studio time, because you can do it and I can do it right here. Hey, this is a studio quality mic. that we're both talking into.
Absolutely. Well,
So
that's a great point though, Rob, because like back in the day, where did you hear music? You heard it on MTV, you heard it on the
right
radio. Now I can hear it
again.
anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, you'll see some random, guy or gal who just is so talented at whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Whoa.
you would have never seen this because they would have only been, you saw bands or whatever, you heard
Mm-hmm.
it on the radio. And now, like I say, with TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, I saw a guy yesterday who had used the looping pedal, which means, you hit the pedal, it records what you do, you stop it, and it'll just keep doing it over
Yeah.
and over again. And he went around the entire room just recording himself playing different instruments and then got,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Whole song together.
this is incredible. We would have never gotten that stuff
Mm-hmm.
back in the day.
Right.
So that's another thing. You don't have to go to these amazing studios on Sunset Strip to record an album. You literally do it in your office, your bedroom, your basement, wherever, and and then upload it to
directly. Yeah,
the consumer.
platform.
Yeah. And if you do it enough, and the next thing you know, you've got 2 million subscribers, then you just uploaded something to 2 million folks. And that's power right there that just didn't have back then. So the way we consume music is just so different. But I was curious about this. I was going to ask you, do you ever listen to terrestrial radio anymore? As
like in my car. That's
in your
where I
car.
do it. Yeah, I in the mornings, I guess it's easy because of drop off time, like with kids and stuff, driving back and forth to school. I have Bluetooth capabilities on like in my car. They all do these days, right? But I still get joy out of like the alternative rock station or like the top 40 hits kind of stations that are out there, or even like the nostalgic radio. There's a channel that plays, a mixture of new stuff and like when I was growing up music.
Isn't that like you were talking about the resurgence of vinyl and stuff like that? Even though you don't have to do it, there is still something nostalgic about getting in a car and turning
just
on
the dial.
and
hitting
hearing
the number, not the dial, right?
No dials anymore.
Number.
It's not the 50s.
Hit the preset.
Yeah. But and even as annoying as they are, that's where you get a lot of your local commercials.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear these terrible, terrible local ads that they obviously work because you remember them, So I don't know. I was curious. I'll get in there sometimes and I'll do the same thing. We have we play everything channel, and so it plays 80s, 90s to the day, and you're sitting there listening to it, and you're like, why am I listening to this? I can listen to
whatever
anything I want right now, but yet I want to listen to this.
It's similar to like when you're on your phone and you hit shuffle. You just kind of you don't want control over what's next. I want to be surprised. I think that's part of the fun factor about the radio is that I don't know what's going to come on. I want some DJ to play something that they think I should be listening to, control my experience and kind of letting go of that control as a consumer. That's the fun of it to me.
It's just one of those things like with vinyl. Yeah, vinyl sounds great, but it takes some work. You have to put all this together, and you have to be careful not to scratch it. And every time you play this record, it's going to get worse. It is a literal. It is. Now, granted, they've gotten thicker, and you can get 180 gram, and they're better, but they're still literally, just like with tapes. Every time you play a tape, it's going to start degrading and everything like that. So you're like, why am I going through this when I have this? Because it's just something cool about it. There's
the cool factor, and I mean you can get like you can romanticize the experience of listening to music in that way, because there's the quality of it you can't beat, even though it is a medium that, to your point, does degrade over time. Like we plug in from the act of putting picking the record, taking it out of the sleeve, and putting it you can make it a very unique experience, but then also the quality of it too. Like you have those big speakers and the amplifiers that you're hooked up to. And if you're fortunate enough to have a space where you can have a chair and speakers that blast at you, right? You can really take that experience to another level and feel like you're listening to the music the way the artist intended for you to hear it.
And with streaming, it takes away from the actual artwork of the cover. You've got, back in the day, you had these amazing art pieces that would be the album covers. We don't have that anymore.
Right.
And so to be able to sit there, like you said, on a good system, great speakers, how it was intended, plus with the artwork in front of you of the, it's just different thing, and so it's wild to think about the eras, of how easy it is in our era, but there are times we still want to go back, and be like,
it's like not to throw it back to another episode, but like TV, right? The way we watch TV today versus how, it was back in the day, back in 1994. And I appreciate the simplicity of today. And when I say simplicity, I guess it truly is more complex technology wise, but like, right. Creating a simpler consumer experience where I can find what I want. I don't have to struggle or whatever it might be. But same with music. Like I can find what I want when I want it, how I want it, and not have to worry about it.
And another interesting thing, like say the eras, is today. You've mentioned her name at least 10 times. This is the Taylor Swift era, essentially. When you think about music in 2024, I know there's other artists out there. I know but you think about her.
Mm-hmm.
And she has done amazing things she's putting out music like crazy. It's awesome. It's great. But when you think about 94, it wasn't a person, it was a genre. And it was the grunge peak, which, was a buzzword. You talk about the radio industry. They're always looking for labels and ways to market things. And so grunge was what they had come up with. And grunge kind of comes out in 90, 91 with the Nirvana and stuff like that. But this is year 3 after that. And so you have the peak. And anybody who played rock music in 1994 was grunge. It didn't matter. They just, so if it was punk, if it was industrial, if it was metal, if it was alternative, oh yeah, grunge, because everybody loves grunge, And so in 94, let's say we're talking now in today, 2024, what great albums have come out here in this year? We only know any, it's like Taylor Swift,
right.
I can't name you another artist that's put out anything in 94. This is some of the albums that came out. So we have Green Day's major label debut, Dookie. It would have go on to sell 10 million copies. After that, 9 Inch Nails put out the Downward Spiral, which would sell around 3 to 4 million, but it's known for the song that Johnny Cash took, Hurt, is on that disc. Right after, on that same day as there's Soundgarden released Super Unknown, goes on to sell about 5 million copies. It's got Black Hole Sun, a classic, a band that we loved kind of disappears, but Live was the name of the band, and Throwing Copper was the Lightning Crashes was the big hit off of that. 8 million copies sold.
Man,
you get Weezer's debut album, the Blue Album, comes out that year. You get the Beastie Boys, Ill Communications, which was amazing. Stone Temple Pilots Purple disc, which had had Vaseline, but also had a couple of Creep was their big hit off of that.
Yep.
Hootie
Hootie
puts out Cracked Rear View, which sold over 10 million copies. Oasis debuts that year.
A song that has like that. You talk about spanning generations. I can think of kids when I was in college sitting out on the benches in front of the dorms playing. It's unbelievable.
So that's the next disc. This is their debut. But
Wonderwall
goes on forever. That's right. Nobody knows. You ask me, let's go, who played this? I don't know. I just know Wonderwall. Well, it was Oasis,
Man.
Oh, so just like so much. And there were other like REM put out a disc that was rocking. It's called Monster. Dave Matthews debuted that year. We highlighted Pulp Fiction in the movies, but that Pulp Fiction soundtrack is incredible. You get the Cranberries second disc, which has Zombie on it, and still a great song. In my metal world, Korn's debut comes out that year.
Wow.
It looks like the biggest selling album from that year was TLC.
Okay.
I think that disc was Crazy Sexy Cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So just so many amazing discs come out that year.
Can't overlook probably one of the, I just pop culture related releases that year. A single from Mariah Carey that piercing ears to this day. Right? All I Want for Christmas Is You.
That's probably how I overlooked it.
Right.
Sorry, Mariah.
No.
Yeah.
It's all right. She'll make up for it. Depending on how early you like to turn on your Christmas music.
And see, that's the other thing. I guarantee there is a streaming channel playing Christmas music today.
Now.
Yes. But yeah, just so but if you were to say, hey Doug, what came out this year? I'm gonna go, I think there's a new Taylor Swift because everybody's been talking about it. Would have no idea. And you had all those great bands putting out all this incredible music that we're still listening to today.
I gotta ask, you mentioned listening to today. I get knocked on this for this all the time. And when I think about my personal music taste, I think I'm stuck in I listen to new things and things come out, and whatever's on the radio. Apple throws at me, for new music releases. But my music taste is probably stuck to where I was in high school. Like the band, I'm wearing a shirt, right? Newfound Glory, like a band that I got into in high school. The Fall Out Boys, the Linkin Park's, Chester Bennington, R.I.P. That's where my tastes lie, and still to this day, I go back and listen to the Meteoras and Catalysts that turns 20 this year.
Wow.
So how about for you? Does your taste evolve? Are you do you go back to a certain genre or band or era?
So it's a great question. I try to consider myself varied in my music. When I am 10 years old, in the height of the amazing new wave of 80s music, you'd be in the car and the oldies channel had 50s and 60s music on there.
Yeah.
So I can still listen to that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I'm okay. Kind
of what you're in the mood for.
Exactly. And you'll go back and be like, I'm not sitting there listening to 50s music all the time. But if you throw it in, you're like, wow, these guys and gals, they were incredible musicians, playing stupid pop songs, but you could just tell how good they are. So I can listen to that.
Right.
I love new wave. I love the Duran Durans, the Culture Clubs. I love that new wave 80s music. But I picked up a guitar in 91 because I wanted to play Metallica and I wanted to play Smashing Pumpkins and stuff like that. So that stuff is probably still my favorite. Hearing Cherub Rock, for example, by Smashing Pumpkins, the intro riff is so good, and we figured out how to play this on the guitar, and the next thing you know, you're like, oh wow, this is so cool. And that's the only thing you could do, but you sit in the dorm room in the corner and be like, da 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 da, and everybody's like, whoa, that's awesome. Like, yeah. He's like, well, keep going. Keep going. It's like, nah, man, I'm just going to let you have the beginning. We'll listen to the real song now because that's all you could play. So I definitely get it. I try to listen to more modern stuff. I went in high school, hair metal was huge for me. That is quintessential. And I don't want to turn anybody off, but hair metal today is like country music.
Yeah.
Those guys are playing the exact same thing, just with country lyrics. As opposed to stupid hair metal lyrics, right? And I just can't get into that. I have several friends that are in that world,
right?
And it's like, man, I love it. You guys are doing, but I just
the country today is very different. I think it was either 93 or 94. I can't believe I'm going to capture this in the form of a podcast. One of my first concerts is with my grandmother, who's a huge country music fan.
Yeah.
It's either 90. I'd have to go back and look at the exact date. It might even be like December, like November,
Oh
December of
yes.
93. So almost 94. I'm at the Achy Breaky Heart tour. Right? Right? Billy Ray Cyrus.
Wow.
So like you think about that country music and what that is like back then to what it is to very different today. It's very, very different today.
So how many times did he play Achy Breaky Heart in the set? Is it like 3 times? Do you do it at the
It
beginning, the
might have
middle, and the
been
end?
something like that if I remember right. Dude, I had a mullet. My mom's a hairdresser and let me grow a mullet. She let me cut my hair. I had the little
It,
flow in the back and just the
you're
short up
putting
top.
this in the
Yeah,
overlay right
dude.
now, right? This is
I
in our
think there's a
overlay.
picture somewhere. I might have
Everybody's
to go
getting this
find a picture.
glorious mullet picture.
It's captured in one like my first grade school picture or something like that, kindergarten school picture. Yeah, Rob had a mullet. It's
All right.
incredible. So the
That's
more you
awesome.
know.
It's funny that you mentioned your first show is a country show. I had an experience that popped up in '94 as well that kind of highlights the differences in the way we do things as well, like concerts. You know,
Yeah.
like if I want to
Yeah.
go to a concert, a musical, a play, or whatever, I go online to Ticketmaster 24/7. Yeah, I can get in a queue. You know, they still go on sale at a certain time, but you could get into a queue and do whatever you want. But back then it wasn't like that, and
Do you have to call? Like I for some
there
reason I
was
remember having to call
definitely
in.
a call,
Yeah.
but
Or like
and I
to go to a
I did
ticket window.
well. It was kind of a ticket window, but
Yeah.
the calling was potluck, man. You
Yeah.
know, you just you just never knew what you were going to get, and sometimes you get on there and be on hold for an hour. But
I also super random and like I remember my mom for things going to like a customer service area in like Bloomingdale's or something
exactly,
like that, like
so there
mall
would
store, like those two.
be these random locations
Yeah.
that would host, even in '94 it's Ticketmaster, but
Yeah.
before then you had Ticketron, stuff like that. You had these ticketing agents, but they would be in
I
now.
had completely forgotten about that until right now. That's
Yes,
insane.
and they would be in record stores, but they would actually be in Bloomingdale's, or they would be in department stores or places like that. But in '94, my favorite band Metallica was still touring on the Black Album, which had been out for 3 years, and they had put out a whole box set in '94 of it had a double CD of a live show. It had live shows from Mexico. It had live shows from Seattle. It was great, and they were going to play a summer tour uh, based around this box set, and they were coming to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was in Wilmington, North Carolina, which at the time was about 4 hours away. The roads are better now. You can get there a little quicker, but my thinking was, this is awesome. Everybody is going to go to the ticket window in Charlotte or wherever. I'm in Wilmington, and we had a ticket a window, as you call it,
You were
at like a record store, and I was
yeah.
like, dude, no one is gonna be there. This is gonna be amazing. I'm gonna get front row, all that's good stuff. Shortly before, I want to say these tickets went on sale maybe in June. Shortly before that, in May, the Eagles, a band I am not a fan of, announced that they're coming back after a very long, I think it was since like 1980. So 14 years,
Wow.
these guys had not been able to get along, had not played.
So that was their first of like many reunion tours, right?
First of many. Yeah, this is the first Hell Freezes Over tour.
Yeah, right.
And so, but there were two big things about this tour that stood out. It's the first tour that the ticket prices were over $100.
Wow.
And it was like, hey, we can get whatever we want, so we're going to charge it. The other thing was that they were coming to North Carolina, and their tickets went on sale the same day as the Metallica show did.
Oh.
So as I cruise into my local record store, the line was at least 500 people. It looked like Disney World on Christmas. The queue went completely around the building.
Man.
And And so I
Could you
get in
tell what
line.
people were there for based on what they were wearing? Like,
Oh,
did people wear Eagles or Metallica?
absolutely. There was one Metallica guy, and it was me, and there were
Yeah.
499 Eagles
Well, at
people.
least you knew you were gonna
So
probably have, decent
yeah.
like seats left or
So
something.
all I say is now, it's big to sign up in fan clubs and they'll give you pre-access to shows and stuff like that. And you'll hear people complain like, oh, I got in the queue. I only got, third row. I was like, hey, listen, I waited behind 499 Eagles fans to
Oh
get
my
my one
goodness.
Metallica ticket. So, just another example of how things have changed,
Right.
even we talked about shows being different with the recording and how you can watch all shows on YouTube. Going to the show was even different,
Right.
having to go out to these places. And you're right, I could have called, but I didn't have a cell phone. So it's not like once I was there, I was there.
Yeah.
I had to wait behind, and I'm almost even positive they printed the wrong tickets because she's just like Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. I was like,
No.
no, I
Sorry.
want Metallica.
It's like who? Sorry.
They have to go in and reset
Right.
everything.
Oh.
Metallica. And then Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. Needless to say, I've held a grudge against the Eagles ever
Because of
since.
that. That's amazing. Oh, I don't know where we'll stand as this publishes, but isn't there stuff happening right now too with Ticketmaster and Live Nation and all that? Like they think it could be a monopoly issue, right? Like Justice Department looking into
totally a
right.
monopoly
Yeah.
issue and but let's be honest, they've been fighting this thing
Forever.
forever.
Yeah. Well,
The
I know
sheer
a lot of it, like at least the experience might have been awful for you. I
Mhm.
can't imagine like scalpers back then couldn't set up internet bots and have you like go sweeping up hundreds of tickets to then resell. It's the
Absolutely.
resale market today that really pisses me off compared to
Yeah.
what it. There were always scalpers, people outside. Hey, I got these tickets, like people that scooped up
Absolutely.
tickets, but not to the extent it is today, where it's almost like it's almost like its own gig economy for people to go scoop up and then resell and like make gazillions of dollars off of the resale value.
Exactly. And you are competing against a computer that you're going to lose to. You're right.
Every time.
And they're trying like crazy, to do these, like I say, with the fan club signups and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean I can't set up my system, sign up for every single fan club and get every single password and all that stuff as well. So it's going to have to be to the point to where, you're going to have to show an ID or something. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to be like, okay, this,
a verified user.
Exactly. When you buy a ticket to an amusement park now for 5 days, I think they fingerprint you, and when you put your ticket in and put your fingerprint down, it's like, oh, okay, you're good. It's going to have to be something like that to keep, that gets rid of scalpers. But the problem is they're already charging you $30 for a ticketing fee that's literally nothing more than the server.
It'd be like going to any store today and you want to use your credit card. Oh well, yes, there's a service fee, but like imagine instead of the several cents that they charge you, it's like we're gonna charge you $30 to buy this $10, whatever it is.
It's just crazy. But anyway, that's one of those things that we talk a lot about different eras and good things and bad things in both. That's just bad in both eras.
Having a Family Guy moment here. If you had a theme song that you had for your life, what would it be and why?
Wow,
you talk about walking around to music and music since day one. If there's just background music to Doug Marsh's, every day.
So we'll let you behind the curtain. I usually, when I build out set lists to play, I practice with, there are certain songs I like to play, and I will always put out walk up music. But a lot of times I walk up music instrumental though.
Yeah.
I love the Planet Krypton from the Superman movie, which is just a tremendous, but there is a random song from I think they were pseudo religious in nature, the Family Force 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they wrote a song called Country Gentleman. and the chorus is, "My mama raised me in the dirty South, a country gentleman, so you best watch your mouth." And it was just like,
Whoa.
it's so bad it's funny, you know. It's like, well, it's so bad it's good, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I've always joked around. It's hard now that I'm older. I would not use that as my intro music anymore, but I always thought that would be so funny to play, you know, because it's actually, I mean, they take shots at Creed. There's a Scott Stapp, you know, jab in there and stuff. It's
too easy.
It is, man. It is. But you know, as a proud proud a southerner, the Dirty
awesome.
South song was always Country Gentleman was the name of that
That's
song.
so good. That's
but
so good.
you know, aside from all the great, you know, be mostly instrumental, but I have to jokingly say that song is so funny. Yeah. What about yours, man? Throwing me out there like that.
You know, it had me thinking about it. It's as you're talking, and you know, I mentioned it not too long ago on here that my musical tastes haven't really evolved, and I get hit on it for, you know, about that all the time. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, and you talk about twisted eras. When I wrestled in high school, there was I was at the stage of the evolution from like having to carry around a CD player to then transitioning to MP3 players. I had the Napster handheld device when that came out, if you remember. It was a precursor to the iPod. And I actually, so the thing, my mom was a stringent, like when you shopped at Best Buy and got something, you got the warranty with it. Napster obviously goes under as a company, and I had their MP3 player and all my music was on it. The thing crashed on me, so that's actually how Best Buy, you know, recognized my warranty and allowed me to, I upgraded to the iPod Touch when it came out. So I transitioned very seamlessly from
that?
Or not, it wasn't the Touch, it was like the color, the original iPod, but like the iPod, but the first color version. It was like, so it had the wheel, but like the screen was full color. So
yeah,
it was like the one right before you know, they went touch screen there. But so I think about what I used to run around a wrestling room to and work out, and I had Linkin Park's Meteora album in my CD player or playing on my, you know, MP3 player all the time. So you could pick any track from that, but you know, the one that stands out is Numb, and probably, you know, among their most popular. I think songs or tracks, you know, you could probably say all time, maybe not of all time, because Transformers did some things for them, and some people probably know a couple of the Transformers theme songs that they wrote. Like What I've Done, and I think they had another one in there too. But that, you know, tastes don't evolve. What does it mean to me? Nothing other than the fact that I used to work out to it all the time, and probably had some high school emo feelings about it. But like today, it's just like, it's a banger that I can work out to anytime, or wouldn't mind just having play in the background.
Well, that's funny. I would probably have 10, you know, different walk-up songs depending on what mood you were in.
Right.
But
there's that too.
So seeing as Rob has thrown this wrench at me, I'll throw it at the audience as well. You know, let us know what would be your walk-up song, so to speak, your theme song, you know, your you know, and when I have an hour to think about it, I guarantee it'll be something, you know, more meaningful than what I said. But I'm not gonna lie, when I look down here, that song is on like in front of it. I call them Doug's set lists, and like I say, I think they're good practice. I'll put them in and I'll play to them. And
you know what's
that's
cool now?
one of those.
And this might be a segue into talking about you know, eras and picking a best, but I think of, you don't even have to think of it today. Like if you're not sure, you could turn to Apple Music and like they curate set playlists for you essentially.
They really do.
And one of which is heavy rotation. It's called the heavy rotation playlist. And that right there will tell you the things that you're probably walking around to listening to all the time, whether you realize it or not. And you know,
the year in review.
Yeah,
this is
basically
what you
like
the
that
most.
too, right? Spotify year in review, or Apple does it too. And I think I'm in. It's always fun to learn. You know, I'm wearing the shirt. I'm in like the top 0.05% of Newfound Glory listeners, I think, on Apple. So like you talk about, you know, big fans. They probably have me to thank for like millions of their streams a year. But
so at least $10, right?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm getting them. It's just It's a good time.
Well, that's funny, that what they are. We were jokingly talking about this off air, but they're mixtapes.
Yeah.
These playlists that you can make in Spotify and Apple Music. And
do you remember making your first mixtape?
Oh my gosh! So the problem
with
me,
have your first mixtape?
There's some mixtapes around here. Now I will say this: I don't have many mixtapes. I have some mixed CDs. Yeah. I have an entire
burning
box.
CDs. Do you think people knows what burning a CD means anymore?
I don't know. Well, here, this is the horror, man.
Yeah.
I would have to put the tape in and wait for the radio to play the song.
Yep.
And so,
and you still catch the DJ, the
you
transition,
do,
right?
So, like some of my mixtapes from the day actually had, we're here at Z93 in Winston, North Carolina. Here's a great one from the Duran Duran, or whatever it was, and it was like that was so part of the song. The DJ was part of the song, but the mixtape was huge. Much more mixed DVDs, and I still have some over there because they were so easy to make.
Right. And the best was when, they had the CD-R and then RW. You had to get the RW because you could rewrite over it. Right.
Yeah.
So you could, similar to like your cassettes, there were CDs that you could not rewrite. So like whatever you burned, that was it forever. It was burned on there and unable to be changed. But when they made rewritables, man, those were innovative to say the least.
Well, in honor of our 1994 in music and our mixtapes and all that good stuff, we have put together a playlist on Spotify, 1994 music, our first ever Twisted Eras Spotify playlist. So you have the ability. We'll get the link out. We'll have a way to get that playlist to you.
If you got this far in the episode and you're just learning about it, we need you to go back to the beginning and re-listen to this episode while listening to the playlist simultaneously. So
exactly.
You really set
you
the
get
mood.
Full on. Yeah.
Really set the mood for this.
But I will say this: you're going to get everything from pop music to Korn came out in 94. So Blind is on there as well. The beauty of the playlist is you can press fast forward pretty quick if you don't want to listen to it. So anyway, we've put together a bunch of great songs from 94. We thought that'd be fun as well. These are, we can't say that they're all the ones we like, because there's a few on there that I would not have personally chosen to put on there.
The times they dictate that you have to.
But you have to do it. So, needless to say, I'll be fast forwarding to a couple of these as well.
You want to put them
but
on
no,
blast?
We thought that would, we thought that would be fun as well for everybody. Some of these you've probably forgotten about. Some of these you may not even know. You may be finding some. And I will say this, a little Easter egg here. In 94, indie music was huge in North Carolina. Chapel Hill. A lot of these bands had grown up kind of listening to REM in the 80s and 90s, and they were playing kind of jingly, I call it jingly indie rock. So I even put a couple of the songs from some indie rock and from North Carolina that these guys would have and you've heard of Hootie and the Blowfish. Hootie and the Blowfish was from South Carolina and come a little bit after that, but Hootie would have been around this time as well, playing with these guys. So you'll have a couple of those on there as well.
We could almost make a subsection of this playlist. Like, go look at everything that was played. Something we haven't talked about yet to this point. 94 is a Woodstock anniversary, or at least an attempt to, right?
No. It's a legit. It's a legit.
Look at
some
Woodstock. Of the names on that the set lists from Woodstock.
I will say this. I had that written down too, and completely forgot. I got so excited about the mixtape. It was like, oh my gosh. But so everybody knows Woodstock 99 because there's documentaries and podcasts and movies and made everything about it. But there was one that was 5 years before this, like amazing. The only negative is it rains, and it turns this place into a complete, mud stock, as they call it.
Yep.
But you're talking a Saturday night in Saugerties, New York, with 9 Inch Nails on the Downward Spiral, Metallica, and Aerosmith, and back to back to back on that main stage, and it's just like unreal who they got it to this event.
Yeah,
the 91 one is much more aggressive, so to
Yeah.
speak,
A little bit. A little bit.
where 94, they tried to use, hey, we've got
All
metal, but
that.
we've got
Yeah.
rock, we've got old, we've got new,
Yep.
we've got everything. And so that's probably why it went over a little better than
Yeah. I think so.
than the 99.
I think
But
so.
no, that's a great, yeah. Yeah. And there's a great 1994 Woodstock disc out. It's got a lot of those classic songs on it too. So yeah, good
Incredible.
call out. You
Okay.
know, yeah, it's time for the eras, and you went last, and
Yeah.
you swayed me the last time, so I'm making
And let me go first.
you're making you go first, so you can't,
Understandable.
yeah,
Well, I hope it's not like an agreement situation then, but something tells me it might be. So,
probably will be.
yeah, I know, right? So I think if you listen to the last episode and it's particularly calling out our TV episode, and I have a similar approach here. The music of that time, you have to separate the content versus the consumption, and it's going to sound like we're a record on repeat, if you will. Figure that's a fitting analogy here in the music episode. But the content, phenomenal. I think music is a topic and genre that it's got something for everyone. So it's hard to debate the pluses and minuses or pros and cons of different music from different eras, because music today, someone loves it, someone hates it. Music in 94, right. Someone loves it, someone hates it.
Absolutely.
So break it down, but for me, into how we consume music. And you can't beat today. You just can't beat the convenience, the simplicity, but also complexity of platforms, right? There's so much in Spotify or iHeartRadio or Apple Music. I know there's a million platforms and you can pick and choose which you prefer, that sort of thing. But I can go to Apple Music, type in any band's name that I want, any performer's name that I want, pull up song, whatever. We talk about the mixtapes. I can ask Apple to curate a whole playlist of random things that, based on my listening preferences, that don't include any artists I know, so I can discover music. It is just such a cool way of engaging with music. And then, being the technology nerd and having my phone, the ability to pick up a little speaker and bring it out to the pool in the backyard and just stream summertime hits with the kids while we're swimming in it is, you can't beat today. I could go on for hours talking about why it's such an awesome era, compared to, I don't have to worry about a disc getting scratched today, and my CD skipping and having to take it out, do the little breathing, rub it on my shirt, and put it back in and see if it works. I understand, especially when you get into the vinyl side of things, and there is we talked about it, the romanticizing of how you go about listening to vinyl and the speakers and sitting down in a room and hearing music the way that the artist intended you to hear it, but from a consumer's perspective, and the ability to take my music from right here at my desk to my car with my phone to the backyard, listening to whatever, whenever, wherever. Mm-hmm. Today just takes the cake.
Yeah, it really is tough to beat. I will say this: what is an interesting aspect is that you use modern technology, say a Spotify playlist, to listen to old music. Mm-hmm. So, which is the better era then? Right. You're utilizing a modern era to listen to what you wanted to hear previously. So, I'm torn because I love the aspect of being able to do these. I love the aspect of not having to put tapes or CDs in the mail to send you guys. You can listen to my Spotify playlist directly, from the link that we have up there.
Yep.
That's incredible. I will also say this one is pretty wild too, is, the internet made the world smaller. And you find out that there's talented people everywhere that you would have never heard before. I think about, I always have trouble pronouncing his name, but there's the Spanish drummer, that is just like a machine.
Yeah.
God, Asterion or something like. I know I'm butchering his name, but he's like the most amazing person you've ever seen drum, and we have him on YouTube and Instagram, stuff like that. In 1994, he's playing cover songs in Europe. You know, it's just
wild.
The ability. There's so many great guitar channels. You know, I could, you know, talk about Beato and Mary Spender and all these great shows. You know, and you're like, I would have never seen any of these people in '94.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the ability to do what we're doing as well.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
in a musical based sense. And so you're kind of like, you can't
think
beat
about all
that.
like we didn't even touch on the I think we did earlier on, but like the social media side of things and being able to discover artists that way that you otherwise would have never even heard of. Like there's just so many ways to do content on your own. At such a high quality. We definitely did talk about it, like the high quality of content.
Yeah,
launch it on your own, not needing record labels necessarily. Like just go, you know, create an Instagram page, create a TikTok page for yourself, and you know, get discovered, and you know, see where that takes you, and build a career off of it.
I'm sitting here. I'm just going down the list of my, you know, people I subscribe to. And there's the Art of Guitar, which is a guitar player. He's amazing as well. I mentioned Mary Spender.
Yep.
The Clark family is the kids who play, you know, songs with dad, and it's awesome. And Music Is Win, and all these different, you know, the composer, Doug Heverling, I think, and he looks at metal songs and he breaks them down. And you're just like, this is incredible stuff. Yeah. We would have had none of this in '94. And so that's why I agree. Today just has so many different ways to get music. Now, I'll die on the hill. The quality is not there today because it's just different.
Yeah.
The music industry is so different. Once again, like I was talking about the drummer, he would have been, you know, in a band. Back in the day, he would not be by himself playing these incredible, you know, and so it's just different. So we don't necessarily have like the songs or the bands that we had back then, but there's still talent
artists. There. Yeah, a lot of individual artists.
Still amazing talent out there. So I'm going to go with you again. Another rare modern win from the old guy.
I love it though. You know, it just if you think about it from like it again, it's having to get off that horse of the content was better. Like, yes, we know, but guess what? You're still able to enjoy it today, and likely at a better quality because it's been enhanced. Right? There's that side of it too. Like, you know, it's just you get studio quality soundtracks that you can listen to online, and not the streaming quality is improved too. So like,
it's amazing.
It's that conflab technology is out there, making it easier to listen to things that, sure, they were made in a better era from a content perspective, but not from a consumption perspective, and you can't discount one. So like it's a giant catch-22.
It is.
You know,
it really is. But no, I'm gonna go with you on this one. Another win for you guys.
Awesome. Well,
I'm just
is
kidding.
it me?
It's not you.
It's not my era.
It's not your era.
I'm just a more willing adopter of new age technology. How about that? I love it. No, that's great, man. Well, hey, another deep dive, another episode, another look at 1994 under a microscope, and in this sense, doing it, you know, for music. So enjoyed it and look forward to, you know, keeping it rolling here.
Let's do it.
All right. Hey, until next time, remember, keep twisting.